Good afternoon, people. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix review. Apologies for the last night. Obviously, I was on my behalf. I fell asleep towards the end of the race, and so we couldn't do the race review. And the Celtics game happened as well, so I couldn't. So I had to wait for the game to end. However, we are here now. We're live. We're talking about the F1 that happened last night, the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix review. King, welcome back. Ferrari's first podium of the year. Let's get into it. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm Mystic Mac. I predicted these things.
Yes, sir. You did. Hey, shout out to you. You actually called all three positions correctly. Fair play.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair
First
play.
time first time I've done that properly this
You know
season. But
what?
yeah,
You can kickstart the show. Floor is yours, man. Go ahead. Everything's
yeah.
yours.
To be honest, I think it was a good race overall. Obviously, there wasn't many incidents. It was a one stop race. You predicted that correctly. That was going to be a one stop race because it
Yeah.
was low deck, and there
There's
wasn't
50
really
laps.
much.
I didn't see
Yeah,
it can be like a long race. Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't much changes. I think it's a very hard track to overtake in. There was a few overtakes here or there, but overall, it the positions didn't really change. There was a big crash in the first lap,
Yeah, there was
between
two big
Gasly and
crashes.
Yuki. Yeah, so Yuki Gasly both pretty much from the first lap out, which I think it for guys like Lando, it benefited it a lot that Gasly and Yuki were out of the race because it made that two less cars that he had to pass,
Yeah.
and it made it much easier for him to push towards trying to get a podium after a poor qualifying. In regards to the max penalty, it was deserved. He did not on the onboards. He did not show any way that he was actually trying to go for the corner. So it's not. So even if in his mind he may think he got pushed off, he just went on the runoff. The only thing he had to do was probably give the position back. But because he didn't do that, he got an advantage and he got that 5 seconds, which didn't really hinder him too much. It lost him the race, but that was a decision he made, and he has to live with the consequences of it, even if he's being salty afterwards.
Yeah. No,
Um,
Max was pissed. He was
yeah,
really pissed.
yeah, he was. Overall, I would say this: Oscar was absolutely brilliant. Controlled the race, did what he needed to do. Made sure that the one thing that he's done in the last couple of races is he's won his races, and now he's top of the top of the table, top driver to up ahead of his partner in crime by 10 points as well. So I think
Yeah.
Oscar Piastri, well done, an absolutely amazing race. I'm happy for Charles Leclerc for the first podium. Brilliant
Facts.
driving, a brilliant pass on George. Absolutely mega effort to keep Lando Norris behind you at the end as well. And yeah, the man behind me right here, Charles, with the first Ferrari podium. So I think there's positives and negatives to this race in terms of Ferrari, but we'll talk about that more. But what do you want to discuss first? You want to discuss what McLaren, Red Bull? What do you want to go with first?
Hey, listen, we're Ferrari fans. Let's discuss the first podium of the year.
Yeah,
We gotta discuss the first podium of the year. We're both Ferrari fans. We're biased, aren't we? We
yeah,
gotta. I know we should be biased, but hey, when you get your first podium of the year, we gotta be shameless and biased. So let's go. Ferrari first podium of the year. Take it away. Charles Leclerc. Good racing.
yeah.
Good racing.
The one thing I liked that he said was that he praised the engineers for the pit stop because that pit stop right won him that position. Because if it was any slower, he would have been caught up by Lando Norris. I think
Yeah,
Ferrari for the first time, well, this the second back to back weekends where they're in terms
actually
of
had good
Charles's
strategy.
garage, perfect
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah,
Uh,
facts.
just waited out longer than the rest. Got the pace back in the second stint. Was able to pass George and hang on to that third position in an inferior car compared to the McLarens and Verstappen's Red Bull. To get a P3, he's maximized the points. He's done everything he needed to do, and he's shown, as you've said before, being the leader of the Ferrari team and being the number one driver. And if he continues to show those type of performances, then you can put the rocket behind him, and he can lead the way for the car going forward. But on the other side of the garage, it was a bit same of the same. He did get Sir Lewis did get past Carlos, which was good. But outside of that, he just didn't have the pace there to catch up to the two Mercedes, even though he was at
Yeah.
some points close to Kimi. I just think he didn't have the confidence in the car or the pace in the car like Charles did in order to catch Kimi. At some points, I thought he was going to, but it just got away from him. I think he's struggling with the car with the new systems, and on the other side, Charles, who's used to the car, has shown that the car does have some pace. We're on track in terms of pace with the Mercedes, but yeah, I think the good I think the other good thing is that the crash allowed for it to be. The only problem I had with the crash is that it made the race a little more simpler, because with Gasly and Yuki, you have deterrents that could have got in the way of Orlando, or maybe even stopped him from pursuing the top three. So I'm just happy that Charles got the third, got the first podium, got the points on the board. We're fourth in the constructors right now, just behind Red Bull. And I think if we have another good weekend in Miami, we'll pass them sooner rather than later. Because even though Yuki had a good qualifying, I think the mistakes from him in terms of crashing in the first corner to Gasly, in terms of both sides, they lost each other points. So those lost points was Ferrari's gain in terms of not having to deal with the second Red Bull, not having had to deal with Gasly's pace. And yeah, outside, I think Charles maximized his points. Lewis probably could have got a 6. He probably should have, if he was more confident in the car. I have no doubt he would have passed Kimi. If I feel like put it this way, if Kimi was in a Ferrari and Lewis was in the Mercedes, it would have been a different way around, because I think Lewis is still trying to get comfortable with this car. You see he's very downbeat on the interviews, but I think he just needs another good race, another good qualifying, just to boost them up a bit. Because if he continues this way for the rest of the season and next year, then we're gonna have to probably move on from him, because as great of a driver he is, you can't be having these struggles coming up to the European part. Unfortunately, he's trying to adjust to a car at a time where everything's so close. So by you adjusting to a car, you're losing a 10th here, 10th there. He's losing all across the lap in every single corner, which is costing Ferrari points that they could have got more. So that's probably the only issue we have. But on Charles' side of the garage, brilliant drive, brilliant qualifying. Everything he did was 10-10. The team strategy 10-10. As far as I'm concerned, this is the best I've seen Ferrari in a long time in terms of everything outside.
Back-to-back weeks already. This is back-to-back weeks of actual proper racing from Ferrari. I think.
Yeah, they made all the right decisions.
The
only thing is they need to get the car to be better in terms of race pace. They need to add improvements to the car, upgrade it. They need to upgrade it a bit more and give these drivers a chance to compete with McLaren and the Verstappen's Red Bull and the Mercedes in a bigger capacity. Because if they can, I have no doubt Charles and Lewis can get double podiums and stuff like that and do those things, especially with the way everything else in the team is moving. We're more aggressive than McLaren. We've got better strategy than most teams this season, and I think for once, no one's clowning Ferrari on strategy. For back-to-back races, no one's clowning Ferrari. They've been perfect, and this is something new. And I think I'm glad that we have drivers that are demanding of the teams and are demanding of better. I'm happy that Charles is getting into this kind of bag of being the leader of the team, and he's growing. He's growing year on year, which I like a lot from him, because in this sport, it's not your time in Formula One isn't that long, and there's always new drivers coming through, especially with the likes of Oliver Behrman and some of these young drivers coming through. You need to prove to yourself week in, week out that you can still do it at the highest of levels, and he showed that. So yeah, I'm happy.
No, I agree with you. I think Lewis Hamilton should have had a bit more pace down the final stretch to take over Kimi Antonelli, because I thought that should have been the final. Lewis is 5.6 seconds behind Kimi, I think, with 12 laps to go or 13 laps to go. I'm like, okay, make the final push down the final stretch now. we can overtake Kimi Antonelli and get us into a higher points total. And do you know what it is with Lewis Hamilton? I feel like LeBron James, a rough start to life at the Lakers. Rough start to life at Ferrari. As a Celtics fan myself, Lakers are a massive institution, right? So it's two massive institutions. When you go there at a late age, adapting is going to be something that you're going to have to get over. And yeah, that's the thing. A bit like Ronaldo when he came back to United as well. A bit like when you start late. But also you've got to look at this where, like I said many times before, Charles Leclerc is very demanding driver. He's been demanding since last season. There was an interview where I showed you guys last year. He was really pissed that Ferrari decided to let Carlos Sainz do something down the final stretch. He's like, all the time, I have to be nice all the time. I like that mentality from Charles. People might like it's pettiness. I actually like that mentality, because why do you have to be nice in F1 races? You should be they should be the one that's allowing Charles to win. You know what? I like your attitude. I want you to have this attitude in every single race. Why give up so easily? At least the one thing about Charles is he doesn't like to give up places. He doesn't like to be that guy who's like, I'm gonna give this up for this and that. He needs to focus on himself. He wants to win races. I know Charles' mentality. He wants to win races. Going on to next week and week onwards, strategies might work. In Miami, I don't know how many straights there are in terms of like the circuit, as what the circuit says, but I don't know whether it's gonna be many turns. I don't know what it is. You'll need to guide me on this one, because I'm not so sure how the circuit's looking like in Miami, because it might benefit Ferrari in terms of down the straights, because Ferrari down the straights look very fast. Obviously, McLaren are the fastest down the straights. It's hard to get past them. But the way that the Ferrari raced yesterday, I have to give props. I have to give props to Ferrari, because strategically and just mentally, they've not been there this season so far. And finally, they've made some upgrades that got them back into potentially the points total. And there's still a long way to go. We're not even in double-digit races yet this season. The races just started last month. There's been 5 races now this year. This is the 5th race now this year. There's still how many races are in 1 year? 22, 23 races. There's a long way to go. There's a long way to go. So Ferrari still have a lot to do in terms of where they want to get to this year. And it's not over. It's definitely not over. If Ferrari can improve more, become a faster car in the next few races, I have no doubt that they can be behind McLaren's wheel. No doubt. Because the Mercedes, if Ferrari make those upgrades, they're faster than Mercedes. In my opinion, I think Ferrari are faster than Mercedes in ability-wise. They're definitely faster than Mercedes. They're definitely faster than Red Bull, right? But it's just the McLaren that need to get by. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say more. Lewis Hamilton, like you said, rough start to Ferrari, rough start to life in Ferrari. But that's going to be every single driver when you join Ferrari. It's going to be a bit tough to have to deal with life at Ferrari when you join. Sebastian Vettel dealt with it, and I'm sure many other drivers have dealt with it as well. I'm sure Michael Schumacher back in the day dealt with it as well. So it's gonna take some time. I reckon this is not the year Ferrari wins, but to make a late push in the season, 100%. There's still a long way to go. I can definitely see some progress going into next season. But I don't know. Do you want to continue from what I said? Do you want to add more? Do you want to?
Yeah, this season's very weird because it's like the end of a era. Obviously, 2026 regulations are gonna come in. Multiple teams are gonna change their name. A new team's coming in terms of Cadillac. So, in terms of Ferrari, yeah, this season isn't gonna be all years in terms of the start. I think McLaren was always going to be the lead team in the first 5-6 races up until we got into Europe, because I don't think in these type of races Ferrari thrives in. I think in the cooler climates, the Ferrari is a much better car. So if it's a cool night race, then you can see the best of Ferrari, as we saw it in China in the sprint race with Lewis, but when it's hotter conditions, the Ferrari is very kind of iffy in terms of what it can and can't do. So that's probably a problem. Obviously, we got the double disqualification in China, so those lost points there have affected us a lot in terms of, I think if we got those points, then maybe then we're third in the constructors rather than fourth. So going forward, we can definitely finish second by the end of the season, because I think between us, Mercedes, and Red Bull, there's not much difference. It's just who is the better driver on the day in terms of if you get the better qualifying position, especially with a lot of these tracks that are they're not great for overtaking in terms of race pace. I think those three cars are very similar in the hands of Max and both of the drivers, the Mercedes and the Ferrari. So it's just about strategy. And I think in terms of Charles, we got the right strategy. I think same with Lewis, but he's still getting used to the car. And I think if he was much more comfortable with that car as a whole and had a better position in terms of qualifying, then maybe we could have got more points from the weekend overall. But in terms of Charles's side of the car, yeah, he did everything. And Lewis, there was probably more points on the paint, because I think we were slightly better than Mercedes in terms of this weekend. Outside of that, so the best we would have hoped for maybe would have been a fourth and fifth, but a third and seventh isn't too bad. We got a podium. We got good points from Charles's side of the grid, so
Yeah,
it's a positive. It's a positive way to end this stretch of 3 races in a row. Miami's not going to be any better for us. It's a hotter race. It's going to be very corner heavy, so it's going to be a McLaren based track, and then it's going to be down to how quick we can improve the car into Europe. And we also got to bear in mind that as with the regulation changes of 2026 with the engine, there's going to be a focus down the stretch into 2026. So I don't know how much we're going to put our mind to 2025 if we're not in the conversation for constructors or the drivers' championship, which I don't think is going to happen this season. I think it's Clarence to lose. But yeah, that's what I can say of Ferrari. Outside of race pace and the car's ability overall, everything else is perfect. If we can improve the car,
we're definitely faster than Mercedes. We're definitely the fastest than Mercedes.
Yeah.
I've said this already. The ability of Ferrari can be faster than most cars, apart from, I'd say, McLaren. That's it. It's just the McLaren that they need to try and get past. Like I said, last season they should have. Yeah, Max Verstappen. But Max Verstappen, for me, his car is not as fast as compared to most years. So Ferrari can definitely have the pace down the final stretch of the season when they need to. Let's say when it gets to what's the middle race? Okay, let's say we get to Silverstone, right? Let's say we get to Silverstone, right? Let's say that's the halfway point of the year. Let's say that's the halfway point, right? Silverstone, yeah. And Ferrari are within 40 points of McLaren. That's progress this year compared to obviously last year. Last year, Ferrari have just been, like, let's say, they stepped it up in the second half of the season. And you and I both said at the start of the year that Ferrari tend to step up second half of the season when the going gets tough. Because last year, 2 years ago, right, Red Bull won every single race. It was Red Bull throughout. Ferrari won the one race. The one race that Red Bull didn't win, it was a Ferrari that didn't win. So, like I said, the ability of Ferrari is faster than most cars on the grid. And Max Verstappen, you're right. The ability, like I said, it's just the strategic. Okay, sorry. The strategy is improved. The strategy is definitely improved. It's more to do with the packaging and the upgrades that they need to make now. The packaging and upgrades should have been made since the start of the year, in my opinion, at least, because Ferrari wouldn't be so far behind. Or don't even make any upgrades, because last year they were dominating races for quite some time. So all I can say is just keep making the upgrades, the necessary upgrades that they need to make, and get within touching distance of Red Bull. Get within touching distance of Red Bull. Sorry, Red Bull. Sorry, excuse me. Of McLaren, because Oscar Piastri was three points behind Lando Norris this week, wasn't he? Now he's overtaken Lando Norris. He's now overtaken Lando Norris, so he's just within. So they're within touching distance of each other. McLaren have gained a lot more because two of their cars finished in the top four. So yeah, upgrades need to be made now. Ferrari needs to start building on this because these past two races have definitely been a positive in terms of strategy, in terms of mentality, and in terms of upgrades. So yeah, that's all I can say about Ferrari. Anyone gonna move on now?
No, we can move on.
Yeah, Oscar Piastri. Yeah, gotta give credit to the winner. And we'll wrap up after we talk about Max Verstappen, and we'll talk about the outsider driver. But yeah, Oscar Piastri. I'll start on this one. Look, he was definitely the faster car from the start. You can clearly see it. Even Max Verstappen, when he started the race, obviously he was forced off the track. You could clearly see Oscar Piastri was the faster car, and he was the faster driver on the weekend. Max 5-second penalty kind of benefited Oscar at the same time, but like I said, one-stop strategy from Max. It was not like a massive overtaking circuit. It was massive. It was an overtaking lane down the final straight where where you start the race, at the starting grid area, at the checkered flag. Sorry, I should say that checkered flag. Those were the overtaking zones that people would usually like. That drivers would be like, do you know what? That's where I'll overtake. That right there was the defining moment for Oscar Piastri. That was his defining moment from the start, from where he started, from where he finished. That's all I could say. I know I'm trying a little waffle right now. I don't really have much to add on Oscar Piastri. He's just been the best driver this year so far, and you can take it away. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, for Oscar, I think it was just a professional performance. I think he did what he needed to do. Obviously the first corner incident, for me personally, it was a right decision. Max was never gonna go for the corner. I think he just dived down and just tried to use the rules in his favor, which it didn't work out, and he got an advantage. So he got the 5 second. That 5 second was probably the difference between who won the race because I think him and Max were very close together in terms of pace overall. So that 5 seconds cost Max, and sometimes it's better to back off and beat them later down the race than to make the FIA have to make a decision.
Yeah.
Oscar on his side of the garage of the McLarens has been the better driver the last 2 weeks. Obviously, we talked about Norris making that mistake, making his life harder, and it's weird because in practice you see McLaren being so much faster than the rest of the cars, but then as the weekend progresses along, the other cars start to become closer and closer and closer. And in terms of Max, he's very close to the McLarens in terms of the pace. But Norris was fortunate that two drivers took each other out and was very close to getting that P3. But
Yeah, he was very, very, very
he left
close.
himself too much to do by starting 10th on the grid. So yeah, for me it should have been a McLaren 1-2. I believe they were the best car going into the weekend. I feel like Lando let the team down with the qualifying, and then in terms of the race, he picked up back up by getting a decent fourth, but he's lost the lead in the championship, and Oscar's taken it, and Lando's needs to step up in Miami and have a great race, because if he don't, Oscar might be the leader going forward in the drivers' championship going on, because he's shown that he can not only compete with Max, compete with Max, have the same race pace as Max, make the right decisions when he's facing against Max, and when he has the car and the position to do so, he can get the pole, he can get the win. He's won
Yeah.
three of the 5
100%.
races, so he's been pretty much perfect for most of the season. So yeah, and he's had that potential for a long time. So Lando, you need to pick it up, because your teammates beating you right now, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. That's
Yeah.
the big equalizer when it comes to these drivers, is the biggest competition is the person in the same car as you. And when you're losing to that guy, it's not a good look.
You need to step it up, for real. Like I said, Oscar from the very start was wheel to wheel with Max. Like, I know he wasn't so close in terms of like when he started, but you could see from the moment that Oscar forced Max up the track that it was going to be wheel to wheel. Like, they were going to go wheel to wheel towards the end. But then again, Oscar just took over from when Max Verstappen, I think, pitted. I think that was when he took over. Oscar pitted at the right time. Max pitted at the, I would say, the wrong time he pitted, because when Oscar pitted, he was already when Oscar pitted, he was already on the fresher tires. So Max needed to, time his pit stop better. I think Max should have been the first one to pit, because then he could have won the race. But you know what it is, Oscar? I have to give credit where it's due. Like, he was incredible once again, and he has been the best driver this year. It's hard to look past him this year. So yeah, I don't have much to say. Just congratulations to Oscar on a successful season so far, and hope he has to keep it up. I genuinely feel happy for him, because this is like, let's say, his second season in racing, if I'm not mistaken. Already third season or something. I'm not so sure.
What, from in Formula One?
In terms of like F1, like when he got promoted to McLaren, is this like
his third year?
This is his third year, and he's already competing for a championship.
Yeah,
you have to give credit to him where it's due, man. So just
he's a top driver. As I said, he's won F2 and F3 in the past.
Mentality, like I said, it's about mentality. He's definitely has it.
And he has Mark Webber as his management as well. So he ain't gonna be pushed around by Lando or by McLaren to do certain things. So when push comes to shove, he's gonna want to go for the win, and make them have to give him the right kind of planning and decision making going forward as well. But yeah, that's not much else to say on McLaren. We can move on to other topics.
Fair enough. But we are going to close out in a bit. Not much to add. We're just reviewing what happened yesterday. And Mac, what do you think of Mac's 5-second penalty again? Like, do you think it was fair? Do you think it was?
Yeah, it was fair. If anything, it wasn't enough. It should have been a 10-second. Because if you're taking an advantage of a situation, of a rule, then it should have been 10 seconds. Even the steward said if it wasn't first lap incident, they would have given him 10 seconds. Then why didn't you? Because he didn't lose anything from it. He was always going to finish top 2. He finished top 2. A punishment is meant to punish the driver from doing these things. So in the future, if you've got the best car, just cut across, take the 5 seconds, blow away from the lead, and you can still win the race. And Max was 2 point something seconds away from winning the race. So even if he had a slightly better car, even with a 5-second penalty, he would have won that race. So it's not really a punishment. But I would like to mention a couple things before we go. Mercedes, yet again, 2 quality drives from their drivers. I'm liking that partnership.
Best duo on the grid so far this season, in my opinion.
Yes,
they're both very close to each other in terms of way.
Yeah, very similar. They remind me a lot of Charles and Carlos in recent years. Yeah.
And good racing by Carlos as well.
Yeah. Also, Carlos Williams, brilliant strategy by them. Obviously, they slowed down and they used the trick that Carlos used a couple seasons. I think it was last season, the season before that, where he gave Alex Albon the DRS train in order for them to both get points. Because if they were left to their own devices, Hadjar would have took them both. And what another brilliant race from Hadjar in that Racing Bulls car. The speed he had towards the end was frightening, and it took for 2 teammates to stop him from getting a P8. So yeah, he's been a problem all season, and he's been a really good driver to watch. And outside of that, nothing much else really to talk about. That's it. Yeah, that's really it. That's really it.
Not much happened. Not much happened compared to most races, but I mean, like, the one thing I will say is positive race from Ferrari. We can build on from this. Any outsider driver you've been impressed with? Any one outsider driver this week you've been impressed with? I'd say Carlos Sainz. Had a decent race. The
Williams driver and Hadjar for me was really impressive in that Racing Bulls car. And the teamwork from Williams as well. because teamwork
Yeah.
teamwork makes the dream work. If they didn't have
Yeah,
teamwork,
facts.
they would have not got
Facts.
points. And those points now they're best of the rest. They're fifth in the championship with those points that they collected. And that's what I like to see. I like to see when okay, the car behind us is too quick. Let's just work together. Even if we're gonna have slow laps, he ain't gonna get past us because we're using that DRS to advantage.
I genuinely miss Carlos Sainz, man, for real. I genuinely miss him, man. It was good seeing him in the Ferrari, but hey, we got to move on in.
Yeah. No, he's in the perfect team for him. He's leading that Williams team in the right way. He's got a
I
great
wouldn't say
driver alongside
perfect.
him.
I wouldn't say perfect, but he's definitely in a team that respects him more.
No, I would say perfect because they have the potential to be a great team going forward,
Right.
especially with Mercedes engine next season.
And Alex Albon as well.
Great great partner driver, two great drivers. They have a great leader in Vowles, who was a part of the Mercedes team and has shown to be a very competent leader. So Williams going forward are going to be a threat in the future, and I think I'm happy to see Williams being a decent mid team because Williams Williams, McLaren, Ferrari. That's Formula One heritage.
Yeah.
It's always good to see the heritage teams up there. So for me, that's what I want to see more of.
Two things before we go. Yeah, Max Verstappen. When the green flag was announced, he did not pass the checkered flag, and he drove off. Do you think that was fair? Do you think that was the right move? Because he went straight away. Do you think he should have waited till he reached the checkered flag, or do you think he should have or do you think it was the right move?
Wait, what happened? Do
you remember when they announced that it was a green flag, right? Aren't you supposed to pass the checkered flag and then start racing again? Because Max just went off straight away from when they announced the checkered flag. Do you think that was right?
No, that's what you're meant to do. But basically,
that's what they did during the final race of the year in 2021.
Yeah, the great thing about safety car restarts, and Max is one of the best at it, is being able to, as soon as the safety car pulls in, the lead driver chooses when when he wants to zoom off.
Yeah.
So you have to do it at the right time in order for you to zoom off and leave the people behind you. And he did it at the perfect time. If anything, he nearly got the second place at the time, I think was Oscar, caught in action of the Mercedes of George. So it was nearly a perfect master plan, but Oscar was too quick for George, and then there was a few things behind that. But yeah, there was nothing wrong with that. The only thing wrong Max did was not trying to go for the corner and try and be cheeky with the system and then get mad about it afterwards. Outside of that, not much else.
Not much else too.
Unlucky to Yuki and Gasly. They deserve better after their good qualifying, but crashes happen in the first lap, especially when there's barely any space. So yeah, it was a 50-50 kind of thing. I don't think there was anyone specifically in fault for that one. I have to look back at it fully to see if there was, but I feel like there was not much space anyway. So it was always going to be inevitable trying to pass at that part of the track.
Yeah, that's why there was two crashes at the start, and with Yuki, unlucky from Yuki, and lucky from it was Pierre Gasly was in it, because you said Pierre Gasly was going to have a good race, like an outsider chance of finishing in the top 5, but that was a letdown. So
yeah, I think he would have, because he was getting past Yuki at that point, but then they touched
the turn. It's like I said, it's the start. Like I said, it's always the start that you have to get over. It's always crowded, it's always jumbled up. It's like, because and when you make that turn, you have to be perfect, and that's why it crashed, because the car slipped onto the barrier. So yeah. In terms of the other one, I think the FIA did a good job in terms of clearing the track this time around, because like I said, we've spoken about it in the past that the FIA have not done a good job in terms of clearing the track when it mattered, because it ruined tires, it ruins races for other drivers. Last year in Abu Dhabi for the final final part of the season, when they didn't clear the track, that's when it almost costed certain drivers. So this time, I think they did a very good job in Saudi Arabia. I think they cleared the track off very, very quickly and efficiently, and that's why the race was decent. There was not much to complain about. So yeah, one-stop strategy. I was right on that, and you were right on the top 3. So fair play to you, man. And next week, next race, hopefully we do get a better result from Ferrari, and it might be more of an interesting race down the final stretches of the laps and everything like that. So yeah, I think we are going to close out here. King, thank you for hopping on my channel, bro, and thank you for and I'll see you tonight actually as well. I think I'll see you tonight again for the NBA talk. We're gonna review games. We're gonna review games 1. We're gonna review games 1 tonight. It's gonna be interesting. Gonna be very, very interesting. So I will see you tonight for that. People, we are gonna close out here. We're gonna wrap it up. Like I said, I'm currently so close to 200 subs. 3 of you can get to 3 of you can get me to 195 today. I'm very, very close to that. So just get to 195 at the end of today. And by the end of the NBA show, hopefully we are on 200. So people, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing as well. And yeah, subscribe to King's channel. His link's in the title. Big up Yash. Big up bro. See you. Big up bro every single time. Big up King. We're out. Interesting races. Interesting race.
Forza Ferrari first podium.
Forza Ferrari.
One of many. Charles is looking good. So
not much to add. Not much to add for me. Man fell asleep towards the end of the race. I had to watch it back. And then I missed the first quarter of the NBA as well. So
it happened. A lot of sport this weekend. If you're into wrestling, WrestleMania, Formula 1, NBA playoffs, no, it's exciting times to be a sports fan.
King is doing all that on his channel. So you do check his channel out, people. African King Academy, AFA Academy 93 in the title. We are out. Take care. Forza Ferrari. Peace.